Sup baby girl, welcome back to Let's Play the Battle of Olympus. Last time we went to Crete and got the third of 3 fragments of love. But the way to Tartarus didn't open because we don't have the first 2 fragments. It's like the Triforce in Zelda. The game runs a check to make sure that you have all of the fragments, not just the last one before it unlocks the final area. Fortunately, we've arrived in Argolis where we can find the first fragment of love. We didn't have access to it the first time that we were here because we didn't have the Eye of Phrygia. Remember that I explained earlier that once you're all done in Laconia, when you're playing the game normally, you're supposed to call Pegasus and make your way to Argolis. I've been trying to comprehend the nature of the fragments of love, and my understanding is that their power originates with the goddess of love, Aphrodite. And if Xavier proves his love for Lily by finding the 3 nymphs that have the fragments, then Aphrodite will help him access Tartarus. Anyway, here's where we use the Eye of Phrygia to reveal a secret passage. I've been playing it a little safe with the bats around here because I don't want to get knocked around too much when I'm making my jumps. Now I'm going to tell you up front that after I get the first fragment of love, I'm going to backtrack, and while I do that I'm going to grind for 70 olives. We're going to need them for the next area, and it's the last grinding that we're going to have to do in the game. By the way, these nymphs that we're saving are the ancient Greek mythological nymphs. If you're thinking of some other connotation of nymph, that's not what's going on here. Alright, I'm excited for another letter from Lily! But actually it's going to be pretty boring. She's just going to explain the plot to us. She was kidnapped, taken to Tartarus. Aphrodite and the nymphs are going to help us. Alright, thanks for the letter, Lily. Now I'm going to backtrack and do my olive grinding. Okay, we're back at the entrance to Argolis. I've got my harp out to call Pegasus. It's the only time in the game that I'm going to call Pegasus. And, by the way, when he takes you somewhere, he just goes wherever he feels like it. You don't get to choose. But fortunately, he took us exactly where we wanted to go. Remember earlier in the game, Old Man Kelios told us that we had to prove that we're Xavier? Well, the proof that he was looking for was a fragment of love. And so he's going to give us a key, and he tells us to go look for the nymph. What he's saying is that the key is going to unlock the door to the second fragment of love. Now I know what you're thinking. Could we have used the 3rd fragment of love as our proof? And the answer is no. When the game runs the check, it only checks to see if you have the 1st fragment of love. If you have it, then it'll open up that dialogue where he gives you the key. Uh-oh, we've got boss music for Gia, the goddess of the earth. In order to wake her up, you have to play the ocarina. Some bosses are more defensive, but Gia is super aggressive, charging at you and throwing those rocks. Anyway, after defeating Gia, we open the way to... oh my god, how do I pronounce that? I'm gonna go with Phthia. It's like mnemonic or Ptolemy. The initial consonant sound is silent, so the PH, we just ignore it. Now this area is pure platforming. All of these annoying enemies are trying to send you plunging to your doom. But I'm not worried about losing health. I'm just trying to survive the gauntlet because at the end, there's a fountain that'll restore your health. There's a new enemy in this area. The little green guys that run back and forth are called pillbugs. Their sole purpose is to get in your way and maybe knock you off a platform. You know that eventually we're going to find the 2nd fragment of love somewhere around here, but we have some other things to take care of first. Right now we need to make our way to the very left part of the area. The item that we're going to get here isn't essential, but it's really useful. Remember the girl back in Laconia? I said she gives you a good piece of information? Well, she tells you to come here. The name of this god is Hephaestus, and the reason that I grinded for those 70 olives is that Hephaestus is the god of metallurgy, and that means he's going to give us the best sword in the game. It'll double our previous attack power. Now since we already have the power bracelet, we have all of the offensive upgrades in the game. Our attack is as strong as it's going to get. I usually edit out the backtracking, but in this case there's another item nearby that we want to pick up. And I'm not too concerned with my health because again, I'm going to get it refilled very soon. In fact, it's right in this cave here because this old guy is going to give us another ambrosia. That'll take our life bar up to 24. And now I'm going to edit out the backtracking. Okay, we're back to where we initially entered Phthia from Attica, and this time we're going to go to the right. We're platforming again, but this time I'm going to be significantly more concerned with preserving my health. This part can be tricky because you can't jump when you're on the stairs, and I just got trapped between two pill bugs. Let's try that one again, and I'll just take the hit while I climb up the stairs. You know, it's been a while since we talked to an ordinary person. Let's go up here and see if we can get any interesting information from this old man. Ah yes, that is interesting. The dragon Layden is guarding the golden apple. But right now, out of freaking nowhere, it's a mini-boss, the Centaur. Half man, half horse. What is that, like the 5th half-human, half-animal creature that we've encountered? Anyway, what you need to do here is climb up and jump behind the waterfall. Then you use the Eye of Gree to reveal another secret passage. And the reason that this door slides open is that we have the key. Without the key, it won't open. And now we found the second fragment of love. And that's it, we have all 3 of them now. But let's see what Lily has to say this time. She's gonna say that she loves me very much. Well, I already knew that, Lily. And she tells us where Tartarus is. Thank you. Since we have all 3 fragments of love, we can go to Tartarus now. But there are a few other things that we want to take care of. First, we're gonna go to the Garden of Hesperides, because that old man told us there's a golden apple that's being guarded by Layden. In the garden, we're going to find 2 new enemies. The butterfly annoys you by sprinkling powder on you, and the flower spits fire at you. But since we have the salamander shield, we can block that fire. Now in the myth, the Garden of Hesperides was Hera's orchard where golden apples grew, and the 11th labor of Heracles was to steal the golden apples. In order to do so, he had to defeat the dragon Layden. The way that I'm going to defeat it is by making use of the fact that our new divine sword can shoot lightning bolts. I've played enough Ghosts and Goblins to understand the dragon's movement pattern. I might miss with some of my shots, but there's no way that I'm gonna let him hit me. And he drops the golden apple. It doesn't make us immortal, but what it does is it will half all damage taken. Now we're done with the garden, and we're done with Phthia, but we're not gonna go to Tartarus yet. There's still one area of the game that we haven't visited. And so I'm gonna make my way back to Attica, and I'll cut to when I get there. Alright, back in Attica, if we go to the left of where we fought the Lamia, we can make our way to Phrygia. There are a lot of people who have never seen this area because the items that you get here aren't essential to beating the game. Now I'm gonna complain about something here. Throughout the game they've been accurate with the mythology, but at the entrance to Phrygia, we're greeted by Dark Pegasus. It's just a palette swap of Pegasus. And there was a winged dark horse in Greek mythology, Orion, but it had nothing to do with Phrygia. Anyway, this area is designed to be a fortress, and by fortress I mean Count Dracula's castle. Seriously, for the rest of this video it's like we're playing Castlevania. But anyway, these giant snakes are heavy hitters. If you're fighting one, you've got to treat it like it's a boss battle. Even with our powered up attack, it still takes 4 hits to kill it. And you want to keep these annoying pink serpents away from you, that's why I killed 2 of them before I took on the giant snake. And these other new enemies are gargoyles, which are only loosely associated with Greek mythology, but I guess they make sense as guardians of the fortress. Alright, remember this door. I'm gonna make a quick detour, but when I backtrack, I'm gonna come back here. Yeah, I mean, Phrygia just seems kinda out of place with the rest of the game. I like the fortress idea, it fits with Phrygia, but I think the execution could have been better. Anyway, if you come up here, you will find a fountain. And now I'm gonna backtrack to that door. Alright, these gargoyles aren't too difficult, because you can kill them with 1 hit. But we're coming up on a fight with a giant snake that's particularly tricky. Remember that I explained earlier that you have to press up to fire a projectile, but you also have to press up to go through a door. Well, here the game is gonna intentionally exploit that problem. The giant snake ambushes you right at the door. You have to be very careful not to press up anywhere near the door. It's very easy to get a few shots on him and then accidentally walk through the door and lose your progress. Anyway, I have some time here to talk about my issues with the execution in this area. If you're gonna include Phrygia as a region of the game, shouldn't you include the aspects that Phrygia is known for? The fortress aspect is good, but Phrygia is also known for dactyls, King Midas, and the Gordian Knot. So 2 easy fixes would be to have dactyls guarding the entrance instead of some imaginary black Pegasus, and then, instead of these purple walls, how about gold for Midas? I'll continue this line of thought in a minute. But if we go up here, we can get another item. And this item is the final ambrosia of the game. We are now up to 28 bars of health. Anyway, my last issue with this area. It's the third maze we've had to deal with. We already navigated a maze in Peloponnesus and Crete. Why do we need a third maze? What I would do instead is that instead of these pillars that block your way, you would have ropes that represent the Gordian knot. Some of the ropes would be real walls, but you could cut through other ones. So you'd run into some dead ends, but you'd continue along the path that you could cut through. It would be similar to the bush in Peloponnesus. Maybe you'd need a special sword to cut through the ropes. Alright, that's the end of my ranting about Phrygia. We're almost done here. The only thing that's left to do is climb up this stairway and get the item that's at the top. The gargoyles are gonna hit me a few times while I walk up the steps, but I don't care because as soon as you get the item, it's really easy to leave Phrygia. You don't have to backtrack all the way through the maze. Alright, we've made it to the final goddess's temple, Artemis. And she tells us that with the moon crystal, we'll be able to see Hades. And with that, we have every item in the game. So now it's time to leave Phrygia. Alright, we're back where we started this episode, the coast of Argolis. Now that we have all three fragments of love, the path to Tartarus will open between Argolis and Crete. Unfortunately, I've got to bounce, but I'll catch you cats later for the thrilling finale of the Battle of Olympus.